Hello there, my dear church boys, and welcome back to yet another episode of Saint Robert's Daygame podcast. And this week we are going to talk about Daygame fails, mine and Mr. T's biggest Daygame fails. To those of you who don't know who Mr. T is, who may be new to my podcast, Mr. T is one of the, or I would say Mr. T is the first foreigner I ever coached years ago. We've been traveling a lot together. He's the guy who created the God bot in our Daygame Church Telegram group chat, where we have almost 400 Daygamers from literally all over the world, and there is no blah blah blah, no mental masturbation. It's all action oriented. If you are not in our group chat, you can join it by clicking the link in the description. Also, yes. Also, Mr. T is the guy who created the site daygamecourses.com. We didn't have an engine for that, because he just basically coded it from scratch. We threw together something simple. And that's a site where we have several free courses on texting and on dating. So if you are struggling with texting, if you are struggling with dating, head to daygamecourses.com, sign up, and the basic courses are free. He's the guy who created those courses. And well, today we're gonna talk about failures, and because you know it's you always hear these good stories and these kind of great adventures that I go on and that my wings go on, and people hear it all the time, but they don't hear realities of Daygame, and that's something. I think this is also partially for the guys that are going through the group online coaching program which we recently started, because I was looking for a way to help guys learn Daygame in a way that would be simpler and cheaper than getting infield coaching, and the result was creating a 12-week-long, 3-month-long online group coaching program where guys have accountability calls every week, which means you can have the best stacking and storytelling and everything in the world, but if you're not taking action regularly, which is the biggest mistake guys are really making, you're not gonna succeed in Daygame. So that's why there are accountability calls every week and theory videos every week, or not theory, but specific tasks every week, where I send them a video each week telling, okay guys, this week you focus only on this one thing, that's your only focus, forget everything else, because there are so many things to focus on in Daygame, but usually there is one or two things. If you improve them, everything else will improve. And I thought that it would be helpful for those guys going through the program to hear about failure stories, and if this gets good reactions, I'm gonna do more failure stories with other good Daygamers that I know. So Mr. T has 5.
I do have 5.
I do have a bit more, but we'll see.
I do want to say that I appreciate the fact that you're going over the failures, because if you go to YouTube, a lot of coaches will always show themselves succeeding. They'll always show you their sets passing or like going really well. And the thing is, if you're looking at it as a beginner, you're gonna think that all your interactions should go that way. I know I did. I was like, why am I not like just getting a kiss close in the first 1 minute? And I think it's really nice that you're showing people, that we're telling people how we failed, because most of the time we fail. Yeah, a lot of the time we just absolutely fail. And it's only the few times that you actually get a success, but it's always worth it.
Well, do you want to start with your first story?
No, ladies first. Sorry.
Okay. I'll start with a story which shows how because when I learned everything on my own. I didn't have kind of wings that knew Daygame better than me when I started. I found a few guys who were in the beginning at my level, and it wasn't like there was someone teaching me. So I was kind of throwing different things at the wall, seeing what works, and I followed Tom Torrero's material, obviously, but you know, I was experimenting a lot, seeing what works, and there was this thing I was doing. I started doing it, I think, around I had done maybe like 200 sets. I had a few lays under my belt already from Daygame. I was doing pretty okay, and then I was experimenting with being more direct, because I would normally open with the typical opener, hey, sorry, blah, 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 you look nice, I had to say hi, then I would stack something about, well, however she looks serious or creative or whatever. But then what I did at the end of the set, I was trying to make it way more direct. And to do that, I, at the end of the set, said something like, by the way, I had to be honest, I lied to you in the beginning of a set. I didn't stop you because I thought you were creative. I stopped you because you had really nice legs. And they would always react super good when I did something like that. But those numbers would always flake. And I did this for like at least 100, maybe 200 sites. I think like 100 sites I did this all the time. And then I saw something isn't working. I'm not getting any dates. And I looked back at my stats and I realized that a thing like this sparks attraction at that moment like really hard and it's really good. But as soon as they go home, they just, it went to nowhere. So that would be my failure number one, really experimenting with something like a bit direct like that and then completely failing. And I wanted to share this because when guys send me coaching recordings for coaching calls, they recorded sets. One of the guys who recently sent me his recordings was doing the same thing, and that was one of the things I corrected in his sets, because sometimes it seems like a good idea and they react so nice in a set, but then it's not a good idea. Anyways, now that the ladies finished their story.
One question follow-up is, and we understand that attraction in the beginning, if you just do only attraction, you're going to get flakes, whereas you have a great interaction, quote unquote. But I imagine that you were already doing the footwork before and that you're just finishing off with like this reiteration of the intent, right? So like,
yes.
Did you ever figure out why? Because
it was too direct. It was too direct. It was too sexual.
Really? Nice legs is...
Well, it was too, I just, at the end of the set, I would say it's like you just had really nice legs. It was like something super direct. Like,
interesting.
Okay, and I would just go a bit too direct. Because, by that time, my basic London Daygame model, I was good at the basics of London Daygame model. So it was already working. So,
okay. All right, so I'm going to go to the very first, I think, Daygame approach I ever made. And this was after watching a few YouTube videos where I saw different artists like approaching and like getting into the interactions and going on dates. I used to talk to strangers already, but I never tried to get a date out of it. So this one time I was in San Francisco, so I'm walking along this place called Fisherman's Wharf. It's like where the tourists are. And what I did is I had this plan in my head where I was like, I followed this one girl who was in a red dress. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna say the thing. And I walked for like 5 minutes. Thinking about how I was gonna say the opener, but not actually approaching, and eventually she gets onto a ferry and goes away. In my head, I'm like, damn, all right, the next one I have to actually do it. So it was two girls. They're walking, and I walk behind them, trying to master the courage to run up and do like the front stop and open. And I followed them for a bit, and they stop. They'd stop for a second, and then they'll turn and go somewhere else. And I'd pause and I'd be like, all right, they'll go a different direction, and then I would stop, and then I'd follow them. So I did this for a few minutes, and at some point they walk back the way I'd come and they cross the street, and I'm like, all right, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna run, you're gonna cross the street when the light goes green, and then you're gonna get to where they are, go in front of them and say, hey, I saw you, and like do the whole opener. So the light goes green and I run. First bit, I get to the light, I cross. The plan's still going good. And then just as I'm about to get to them, they had stopped, right? They were facing the other direction. And for whatever reason, they turned to look behind the direction that I'm coming from. And in my head, it was like slow motion. Oh no, my plan is falling apart. And so by the time I get over there, I'm just super frazzled. And I'm like, hey, I saw you and I thought you looked nice.
Your voice was like that?
And they did not look nice at all. Or, I mean, they weren't ugly, but they didn't have the best smiles. And I completely lost my train of thought while I was in there. So I chat for a second. I'm like, all right, just wanted to say you look really nice. And then because I was thinking in my head, well, I came running, I might as well like leave running. So I now run. When I'm leaving, I like run in the forward direction. I cross the street, go to a motel, and I go like where the stairs, because like these like old movie-like motels. I stand in the staircase and I think about how stupid that was and how crazy it was.
I think everything up to the point where you run away was nice. I mean, it's you had AA, it's normal, you walk behind the girl. Everyone has done that. I've done that for like, yeah. But yeah, the logic that since you opened running, you gotta.
It's those stupid thoughts come up. I'm sure with everybody else, they're like, "Oh, I was doing this thing, might as well continue doing the thing." But yeah, the good thing is I ended up doing like 4 more approaches, and the last one that I did was the best one. So even as I was starting on my very first day by myself, I still.
Oh wait, that was your first approach ever?
That was my first ever.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Approach.
That's not that bad. I mean, I think if you opened the first time you went out, because dude, yeah, that's okay.
Fair.
I mean, okay, I should probably tell that failure story about how I did my first ever set. Maybe for later. Okay, next one I wanna. Did you finish your story?
I did. That was it.
Okay, the next one is. I don't like porn, and I don't really watch porn, but I will sometimes open Reddit and like Google not safe for Reddit, not safe for work Reddit list. And you can find some really nice Reddits there with some really hot chicks. And at one point I was thinking that, like, I've been around and I've daygamed a lot and I've met many girls, but the most upvoted nudes on Reddit, like, I haven't seen a lot of this like that in all my daygame career, because they're like next level sometimes. But then I was in Ukraine last summer, and I remember stopping this girl on the street, and I took the number, and we texted a little bit, and when I go on a date, and she looked like okay on the street, nothing crazy, but when we go on a date, she shows up in this white, thin dress it's not unlike that like here between her tits there's like laces, and there's like no bra, and then like I was just, oh my fucking god. And we went on several dates, and she was very smart, she was educated, she was from a very good family. Her dad was basically one of the guys stealing money from that city, yeah, honestly. He was some really important dude who, been places, done things, lived abroad, and I thought she's a really cool chick, like really hot, but like I couldn't get anywhere with her, like I couldn't even get to a kiss with her by like the second or even the third date. I was kind of done with it. And then one day she just texts me, middle of the day, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, this sounds. Oh, I know. By this time, I know she's a virgin, which is a whole different story, because she's a virgin who has been married and is still a virgin. By the way, that is next level. Yeah. Hashtag Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, she shows up. We had like a drink or two, and we start making out. And she seems to be on, like she seems to be like everything is fine, like she's not, there's no resistance. With her, like nothing was working. I couldn't do anything. I could normally like I couldn't do anything. She was always no. And this time she's just on, and I remember taking off her dress, and even on Reddit, on like the most upvoted, whatever you like, real girls or whatever the most kind of not safe for work threads are, even there, like this like that are very rare. And she had the best tits I've ever seen in my life to this day. Natural, fucking ginormous, like tiny nipples. It's just like it was unbelievable. The whole body was just next fucking level. And we're already naked, and we're in a bed, and I'm already like, it's already at the door knocking, and it's just she changes her mind. Oh. She's the hottest girl I've ever seen naked in my life. The second hottest one, or she's kind of battling with people have different tastes. That's kind of when I posted a video with my girlfriend. Some guys were like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?" Like, kind of like, some guys didn't like her. You can have your taste, I can have my taste. That's, by the way, what really good day gamers agree is when we go out. Like, You go on the streets for very different chicks than I. Like, we have completely, like, some chicks that you would open, I would be like, why would you open that?
Yeah.
And most chicks that I open, apart from like this princessy types, you would be like, why the fuck would you open that? Like, why do you like that? And I've
Sometimes
noticed
you
this,
have your preferences.
yeah, and I've noticed this with many wings. So this girl is basically battling for the first and second. Like, this girl and my girlfriend are battling for the first place. But yeah, and it never happened, and I'm still sad.
Was I in the apartment at that time?
You were not at the apartment. No, you had left already.
I'd left,
It was a
okay.
different apartment. But no, that was a different.
That was
girl.
the time I was in Ukraine at the same time.
Yes.
And I think, so the whole thing is that Robert had like 2 weeks of frustration with his sets. Just like so many near misses. Yeah.
I did 7 days to nowhere, and then I just understood how Ukraine works, and then I got plenty of, like, I did so good in Ukraine. There are very few places where I had done as well as I did in Ukraine. Okay, let's go to your second story.
Okay, let's see. My second story. Alright, so this one happened in London, and I had flown to London for something. It was I just landed in London that afternoon, and really tired, jet lag, hungry. But I was in this part of London called Shoreditch, which is like where I was hanging out. It's like a lovely place. And at some point I'm getting on the train, I noticed this one girl, blonde girl, biggest, roundest ass ever. And in my head I was like, oh man, I wish I wasn't so tired. I would have approached her. And I'm like, fuck it, let's just enter the train. I enter the train, and lo and behold, she actually ends up sitting right next to me. Right? And I'm like, well, she sat next to you, you gotta do something, no matter how tired you are. So I turned to her and I like do the laziest opener ever. I think I just said, hey, your dress is gold. But she picked up on it and like just looked at me and like, just, you know, when someone just is into you, and I'm like, oh, I guess she likes me. But then she had like 2 friends who are dudes like right opposite, and in my head I'm like, where do these guys fall, and what's the deal, right? But I didn't ask, so I'm just chatting, and then at some point I only had one stop. So this was, I'd opened and I had like, I think about less than a minute to kind of wrap up. So I tell her, hey, listen, let me, I'm really tired, let me get you on, let's get drinks later, right? But because my phone, I didn't have a UK SIM and I didn't have internet, I get her phone and I put my number in there. And I was so ecstatic that I had been able to get to that point that after that, all right, we'll get drinks, and then I get up and I leave. And literally as I'm stepping out of the train, I realize I didn't text myself. So, and I'm like, fuck. When has a girl ever texted first, right? Like at that point I was like, fuck. And it sucked because like after all this work, I was like, ah. Anyway, so the whole day I'm with my friend. He's like, let's go and approach. And I'm just like kicking myself. I'm like, why? I had. And randomly she texts me.
Oh.
Like literally I get a text and I look and she's like, hey, good meeting. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm good. We're in. She was Swedish actually. So at this point I'm like, oh yeah, cool, let's get drinks. So later that evening, she sent me the location where she was. It was like this place called Piccadilly Circus. Go to meet her. Absolutely fucking out of this world. Girl, like super pretty and well dressed and like just like giving me the googly eyes. And I'm like, all right, this is it. So I played a little bit cool. Like we go to a bar, we get a few drinks, then I jump onto I suggest we go on an adventure because I was trying to like adventure. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get onto like those little tourist cars. And so we get into those, go to one bar, and while we're there, we're just getting drinks. She's paying for the drinks. And in my head, I'm just trying to figure out logistics because I still didn't have reception. So I couldn't, like, ordering an Uber was going to be tight. And then I was supposed to be sharing an Airbnb with one of my friends, but I had the only key. So at some point at about 2 a.m., I tell her, hey, my friends come get my key, and then we can head out, right? But the moment I mentioned that I had a friend and that we were at least in the same Airbnb, even if it was like completely split and everything, she's like, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna go home. And I did keep trying to like I went on the street or walking. I was ordering an Uber, and I'm like, all right, just jump in with me. But she was like adamant. She's gonna go home, and so she did go home, and I ended up going to my Airbnb by myself. I did take it. I was like, all right, I'll hit you up like when I'm back because I was gonna go to Helsinki for a week. Yeah, it died. It died, and it sucked because I finally got a girl that I really liked, despite all the hurdles that had come in between, and at the very end, still fell apart. And I learned the lesson was get a fucking sim the moment you land in your country.
Oh, yeah.
Get a fucking sim and date. Anyway, at least that's one thing, because like definitely not having like service and being able to like text in the first place, order the ride sooner, and also get 2 keys if you're sharing an Airbnb. Those were like the things that I took from that.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing you can do with failures. You can always learn from them.
You're supposed to. Don't make the same mistake twice.
Yes. Yeah. If there was a mistake.
I could have done a few things better, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my next story. Let's go with an experiment I did a while back. One of my Daygame experiments to see what the fuck works and what doesn't, and I was with stylist, with Anna, with the girl who makes all the lookbooks for, like, she has helped with style more than around half of the guys I have coached. A friend of mine, actually an ex from years ago, she's a really cool chick, really great stylist, and we were sitting in a like cafe and drinking coffee, eating some like pastries, whatever. And I see this super hot chick walk past us, and I was like, Anna, I'll be back. She knows, like, she understands. So I just go and then I open the check, and it's a super short set. I get her number, we text, we go on a date, and like, not, she seems like I couldn't even get a kiss, and like I just can't seem to. And she was super hot. She was a model. She modeled for the biggest sex shop in Latvia, with like really sexy lingerie, whatever. Lingerie. Where it was without her face, but she was in those photos for the website, I think, or for Instagram. I'm not really sure. And yeah, she was a fucking stunner, and I couldn't get anywhere. So I heard from some guys that some guys were experimenting with building a lot of comfort by going on like short trips with girls, but I'm not talking like to other countries or anything like that. Like something really, really small, like going to the beach, for example. And I thought, well, I might do that. And I had this friend who had a house by the sea in Latvia, kind of like a very simple house, and I was gonna go there anyway. So I told her, hey, like I'm doing this thing, like come with me, like let's go chill there. And we go there, and when we're there, I still realize she's not like physical escalation is just not working, and what I did is we went swimming at night. Me, my friend, and her, I think my friend's girlfriend too. And what we just went swimming. I go super high because I was like, fuck this girl. I was so pissed. Obviously there was no reason to ever be pissed at the girl. I tried it didn't work, and I was like, fuck it. I was done with her, so I just decided. I was pretty sure, I think she didn't drink at all. So I was pretty sure she doesn't like alcohol or weed, but at that moment I was like, okay, I'm gonna have fun with my friends, and then we just got super high. We obviously, well, yeah, and we just chilled, and nothing worked. I never saw that girl again. I never did anything that stupid again. I mean, it was an experiment worth trying again. You know, I've tried a lot of weird things in Daygame. I've even tried, like opening 2 sets and closing them, both of them, by saying that all 3 of us are gonna go for a drink, and kind of hinting on that also never worked. But then, yeah. Another of the experiments that went nowhere. Mr. T.
Interesting. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Blue balls.
I mean, who cares? It was going to the countryside that was fun.
I remember another time, like, we ended up going, like, in a car all the way to, like, some lake where you were still trying to make moves on some girl.
A lake?
In the dark.
That was not lake, we went to the sea.
Oh, whatever.
You went to like a pier?
Yeah, I went to a pier, and you're like,
I went swimming.
I need more time. I need to like work my magic.
I went swimming.
Yes, that's what you said. And I'm like, this just reminds me so much of that.
I don't think we had sex when we swam, but I think we had sex when we got back to my place.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It still worked out in the
You
end.
didn't fail with that one.
Still worked out in the end. We went like skinny dipping, and yeah, that was the that was the only reason we went like.
Yeah, no, because I think you were like, I'm making my moves. Like, you were trying to work out your, like...
Yeah, that's why you went to the pier and I went kind of different direction. I went to the beach to swim.
Yeah.
At night. Yeah. Swim. We could actually swim.
Cold sea.
Yes.
Alright. Good for you. You can't fucking water, you know that.
Yes. Well, it's not convenient.
It's not possible.
It's possible, but not convenient.
Alright, fair. My turn. Okay, so this one happens in Krakow, Poland, and I had just moved. I was moving into a hostel, and right on the way to check in, there was this one girl who was seated at a table, and I'd learnt this technique where I could like this some way to look. I was looking at girls in a certain way, like when I was talking to kind of like create tension, but it was also kind of like just my way to like troll people to see like how much they could handle the tension before they caved. Amazingly, I woke up to her, look her dead in the eyes, smirk, and we're chatting, and she does not flinch, right? And I don't remember what the conversation was about, but definitely at some point, I was being a bit clear in my intent in the words I chose and what we're talking about, and it seemed like she got the hint. So what I did is I got her number, and then I went up to my hostel dorm room. Now, because I'd been traveling most of Eastern Europe, in different places I'd gone like a place where it would just be me solo because I was like daygaming and I wanted to have good logistics. But by the time I got to Krakow, I was just like, fuck it. It might not happen. I'm just gonna be like in a dorm thing instead of like reserving a full like space to myself. So what happens is later that night, we're prepping for a pub crawl. And while I'm in there, like she comes in, I'm like, okay, she's here. She's sitting next to me, and I decide to kind of like again flirt a bit. But what I used was, I think we're talking about age, and I was trying to practice Tom's thing. Like if someone asks you how old are you, it's like, oh, I'm 96, and then so the whole thing's supposed to be that if a girl asks you how old are you, it's like, oh well, I'm 96. And it's like, really? It's like, yeah, I have a nice plastic surgeon. You should meet them. In fact, I'm thinking of getting a boob job next. All right.
Classical story.
So, but when I said that, I literally responded that way. And she was like, oh, I got a boob job. Yeah, like, can you see? She's like, can you see? And I'm like, okay. So I think she'll probably even say that you want to like touch. I don't know. Like, definitely she was like, I was like, oh, this is where this is at. Right. And she like now starts standing really close to me. And she had already mentioned she had a boyfriend, like when I chatted with her initially. But I think I ignored it or something. I don't know, but she didn't bring him up. So at this point we have drinks. And I'm slowly trying to move her from where we were in the hostel room slowly to like the stairs and trying to find a way, because she was staying by herself. So I was like, I can't bring her back to mine, but I could definitely try to figure out to bounce back to hers. So we're literally at the door. I'd been wasting time because I thought about it in my head. I'm like, fuck, it's been 30 minutes since this happened. I should have moved by now. And just as I was about to make the move, one of the dudes at the hostel who had made friends with touched me. Oh yeah, we're doing the pub crawl. Are you coming? Like, let's go. And for whatever reason, that like snapped me out. I was like, okay, I'll be there in a second. And I was like, well, this girl really likes me. Like, I think it's a done deal. I'll just catch her like shortly in a bit. I'll go down. So I'm like, listen,
it will definitely happen.
Yeah, 100% definitely happen. Yeah, so I go down. The place I was going was like downstairs, but I went downstairs, texted her, hey, I'm coming back up. Crickets. Tried to text her the next day. Crickets. A few hours later, she's like, hey, I'm leaving Krakow. And that was the end of it. Oh, and she had also shown, like, when she had shown me and I remember what. After she talked about like the boobs, she actually showed me a photo of herself in lingerie. And that's the time I was like, yeah, this is definitely on.
Definitely 100%.
It was on in the moment.
It was on in the moment. Fuck your fucking pub crawl,
I know.
This I think the guy who really started this is definitely gonna happen is Bingo. The guy I'm coaching in.
But for him it definitely happens.
No, that one time it actually did happen. He said in the chat, this is definitely gonna happen.
It
No,
did
but
happen.
I think there were a few times in before where it
I
did
think
not.
this is the one that said it was definitely going to happen and it didn't. Anyway, someone did, but it wasn't Bingo.
Okay.
It was not Bingo. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to my next story. This is one of those more adventurous Daygame stories. Not more adventurous, but like a lot happened though. That day, a lot of things happened. It was a very, very kind of full Daygame day. I went out around noon in the center of Riga, and I see this kind of very beautiful, very feminine, but a bit kind of on the edgier side chick walking down the street. And I stop her. I mean, she's from Moscow. She's in Riga for like a few days or something. I don't remember. She's a DJ, like a DJ in Moscow, and she just woke up. She's like pretty much hangover, you could say. And it's it's around noon, like noon, 1 p.m. something like that. And I just told her, hey, I was just on my way to grab a beer at this bar. Like, let's go for a beer. And then, sure, we go for a beer. Everything seems to go very smooth, very nice, but then I find out she's traveling with another girl, and that other girl is in a hotel still sleeping in the old town. And by the way, very nice hotel. So we're chilling there, we're about to go for another drink to another bar, and her friend texts her and says that her period just started, can you go to the store and get whatever I need? So this girl I'm with has to go to the store, has to buy all the shit, help her friend, whatever, like something like that. By that moment, I understand that she says she's coming out later, but with a friend.
Yeah.
At that moment, I realize I need a wing because I'm not gonna do all of this on my own. So I'm messaging one of my kind of that closest wings of that time, one of the guys I started Daygaming with. He's in another city. He's on the beach, and he says, "Listen," but he says, "Listen, if you need to, I'll come to Riga, I'll wing you. Like, don't worry about it." Just I say, "Yeah, well, you should." And I already warned him, "Listen, the other girls on periods, or nothing's gonna happen. Just like if you want, and it's amazing. If not, don't worry about it." He comes over, and we go to this bar in the basement. It's like it's a touristic bar, but it's very looks very authentic, very nice. And we go for drinks there, and she shows up with her friend, and we're sitting there, and everything's going really. I lost frame at one moment. Like I got too excited about some things, and then because those were like real Moscow girls who were like living Moscow lifestyle, had real money, and it's going really good. So what we're doing with the buddy of mine, he is in a very high position in a very known company in Latvia, and they have an office with kind of two separate offices, and it's with a very nice view, nice place. And we say, hey, like, this is an amazing place, and it's a really nice view of Riga. Let's go there. Let's get some drinks to go, and let's go there. And she's yeah, let's go. And very nice. And because the idea is there are two separate offices, we're gonna separate them, and I'm gonna do my deal. And but I can't figure out, are they with us because they want someone to entertain them while they're in Riga, like, or not? And I couldn't understand then. And always the best way to understand this is escalate physically. And one of them had to go to the bathroom. The one I was with, she had to go to the restroom, and we are in a shopping mall. I said, oh yeah, I'll show you where it is. And we were taking an elevator up, and then as we're taking the elevator down, I just go for the kiss. Like I just go for the kiss because I need to know.
Wait,
is this
as
happening?
a group when you
No, it's just me and her, and then they're downstairs. And she rejects it. I understand. It's not worth wasting my time. I'm not gonna continue this date. So, and I...
Hold on, you didn't tell her, I know it's your job to resist and mine to try. I'll
not
try again
because at that
later.
moment I really needed to understand, is it worth spending more time with them, or are we wasting time?
Okay.
And if she doesn't go for it, then we're wasting time. That was my logic. Because if it's gonna happen in that office, she's gonna be fine with a kiss. It's like to really understand, is it worth it or not? And she doesn't go for it, and we had to. I don't remember what we had to. I think we had to go to the office, get the office keys or something. But I just said that, oh, listen, I got a message. I gotta run help a friend for 30 minutes. I'll be back. I'll text you. We left. You never messaged him again.
You fucking ghoster.
And then, but that's not where the night ends. Because I was day gaming before I met her, and I had a number that I was already texting with, and she seemed to be in a good mood.
Okay.
And it was already like 11 p.m. or something at that moment while I'm texting with her. Like when I realize I'm gonna date request, it's 11 p.m. So it's like late as fuck. We go to one bar for some cocktails. We go to another bar next to my place. We go to my place. She's maybe late 20s, something like in the late 20s. Recent boob job. No one has seen the result of the boob job yet. We end up at my place. We're making out. I did get to explore that boob job a little bit, but like there's no delay is not gonna happen, and it's pretty clear. So. And in the end, it did not. I went on 2 dates on one day. Both of them ended with fucking nothing. Which leads us to, sometimes when you're day gaming, you wake up and you have the sickest blue balls because, you made out yesterday really hard and you wake up and it's like, oh, fuck, I'm dying. And you're like, well, should I? Should I not? And then you think, yeah, but I have a date today. So, I probably shouldn't. And then you go on that date. And it doesn't, and you wake up the third morning and you're like, and you're just dying. And I've had 3-4 mornings in a row like that. And the one secret I want to share with you guys is at that moment I Googled how to cure blue balls. And I found a cure and it really works. Just take anything that's in your... take anything, because you can't come, that's without coming. You take anything that's in your freezer, I don't know, a bag of peas or whatever, and just... put it on the pelvic area above your dick, or balls, or both. I don't remember how I used to do that. That thing worked magically. Another option is take a cold bath, but that's really cold, and most people will not like the idea of that. But that thing cures blue balls. It's magical for day gamers that have been day gaming for quite a bit. You're welcome. Okay, well that's it. That's my story of 2 things that didn't happen on one day. Mr.
But I think you have to remember to tell people that it's in trying that you succeed. So despite someone could say, hey,
fuck it, I failed.
Which you did, but you also...
I tried everything.
You pushed it.
There was nothing
Sometimes you need to push it.
Yeah, there's nothing I would have done differently.
Yeah.
All that I did, I stand by my choice. There are cases where I would obviously change things that I did, but in that day, I think I did really, really well. I played my A game, but the opponent was stronger. We had to play as a team. Team members came from other cities. We played strong, we played good, but the opponent turned out to be stronger. Both opponents, all 3 opponents.
Till another day.
Mr. T.
Okay. This one is slightly shorter, but you all learn a lesson from it.
They don't need a lesson, whatever.
Everything, stories didn't have a lesson. Don't you know? It's what did you learn? Don't steal sugar from the cookie jar.
No, fail.
They clearly didn't teach
normal.
me anything as a kid. Anyway,
they gave me cookies.
So this is actually this happens before my Krakow trip that I just mentioned. I was in Copenhagen, and again, I'd gone from Berlin, just got into Copenhagen via the airport. And I had a long layover, so I decided, okay, I'll try to do some approaches here. And there was this one girl I'd seen, and I just had my eye on her. But I have my luggage, she has a bunch of luggage. I'm like, how is this really gonna work in an airport? You usually imagine that, okay, well, airport, everyone's flying somewhere, and let me not bother, but I was feeling cheeky, so I go over to this girl, and I didn't go direct in this case. I don't remember how I went to the conversation, but strike the conversation, and we're chatting, and I can see the vibe's really good. And I make the suggestion, hey, listen, since she was also just like a nomad, so I told her, hey, listen, since you're gonna be in Copenhagen for a while, I'm gonna go to Sweden for a bit. I'm catching the train. It's just 2 days. I'll come back and then let's get a drink. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. Gives me her number, types it into my phone, and then I put in the keypad, and then
Oh, yeah.
no. I still I launched the keypad. It was still there. It was fine. I was like, I'm not gonna rush things. You know, I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna keep it mellow, right? Don't rush to save the number. And it was still there. It was still there. It was fine. You could actually switch apps, and it was still there. So I go over to Sweden, catch my train, and I'm hanging out with my friends who were there. And for whatever reason, I don't know what happens, I closed the phone app, and the number was gone. And the number was gone. And no matter how many times I tried to like fucking remember that number, it was gone. And sometimes you could remember, like the phone sometimes like had a way to like see what you had punched in. Dude, Apple could not save me. Tim Apple could not help me here. And yeah, I never got to meet that girl because I did not save her number. And I still don't save numbers when a girl types them into the keypad. But what I do is I take a screenshot immediately, and then I go in and save the contact later. I have never made that mistake again. Ever. Never made that mistake again. So remember, take a screenshot of the numbers you get, just in case you lose them.
Or just save them.
Or
like
just take a screenshot, save them and take a screenshot. And remember, you should have an iCloud backup or Android and back up your shit. Anyway, that's the story.
Okay, my story number 5. My last story of the day was when I was daygaming in London. It was right, kind of the peak of COVID, I would say. It was right before I went to Mexico, actually, for the first time. I was coaching a guy in London. And it's a really cool city. Like for day games, there's always traffic, and of course you kind of have to deal with the fact that there are a lot of day gamers. But it was COVID time, so there weren't as many guys. And one of the days I'm doing it, I think I was doing a demo, or I just saw a girl, very kind of tallish, very classy, with like one of those designer bags and like green leather jacket, very 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 feminine. She was wearing a mask, but you know, some people are wearing masks on the street, and you hear the mask, and you're like, I know how this story ends.
Yes.
So, and I opened her, and normally what happens when you open a girl, they take off their mask. That's what always happens, and there's a very big red flag if someone doesn't take off their mask. So, anyways, it's very nice. We had a very nice chat. She was very she was pretty like. Yeah, she was very nice looking, very nice voice, sounded very feminine, always cool. I take the number, I go home, I look her up on a WhatsApp, and I was like, oh, that was a transgender person.
Wait, you could tell immediately?
As soon as I saw without the mask, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So that was it. That has happened several times, like in Playa del Carmen as well, where I think you were there when we were
that's my story.
Okay. How is that your story?
I have a story to tell about Playa.com.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, finish yours.
Oh no, that's it.
That was it. I guess we both finished with transgender stories.
Yes.
Right. So I was with Robert in Playa.com, and let's see, why was I doing this? I think. Well, so this is the thing. Like in Mexico, if you're a boob ass person, you're gonna see a lot of fake boobs, fake ass, but they're still great. So I think I was walking back with Robert from somewhere, it doesn't matter, and this one woman is passing by, ginormous boobies, great hair, nice figure, and I'm like, but wearing a mask, I'm like, man, like, well, I mean, I can't just pass by, like, when will I ever get this if I don't actually approach, right? So I'm like, alright, I need to go and approach. So I run. Oh, and I remember one of the reasons I didn't want to approach as much in Mexico is because I didn't speak Spanish, and I was like so fed up of like trying to like hand sign everything. At some point it said I was just going to approach tourists, but I made an exception in this case. So I ran back, front stop, and I'm like, hey, you look nice, and she's like, oh, thank you. Mask is on, right? And I'm like trying to find ways to like get the conversation going, and it's like, oh, you from here? She asked, like, you from here? I'm like, no, from New York or San Francisco. I don't know where I was staying by then, but I'm like, no, America. But it's like, oh yeah, and she responds a bit, but then in my head I'm like, fuck, there's no way I'm gonna hold this conversation. I can't do it like speaking. Let me just fucking take the number and I'll do it over text. So what I say is like, well, I have to go, but you look really nice. You want get drink another time, number? He's like, yeah, oh yeah, give your number. And in my head, I'm like so excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. Oh, it's happening. So like give the number, and I'm watching as the number is being put in. But while the number is being put, I'm like, wait, hold on, this was way too easy. Why is this so? No, I can't be getting this. Why is this? How am I getting? So I'm like, this is too good to be true. I look at the hair, checks out. Eyes, check out. Neck, checks out. Boobs, checks out. But then I get to the hands, and like, oh, Jesus, hold on. And then I walk backwards. Boobs. That makes so much sense. And at that point, I'm like, okay, shit, what the fuck do I do? Because I definitely do not want to go out on a date with this person. But I'm trying to like now play cool. I'm like, so they finish typing, like, oh, so text me? I'm like, yeah. I'll text you. And so I get my phone. And if there's ever a time I did not even bother to look at the number that had been entered in my phone, that was the time. And I put that away, and I was like, all right, I just walked back to meet with Robert, and I was like, yeah, so close, but
yeah, so we're ending on transgender stories. Just to clarify, guys, I'm very kind of you do you. I'm very pro whatever you want to do, and I think if anyone in the Daygame community is not, then you should think about what hobby you're engaging in, and if there's someone to be cancelled, then that's Daygamers.
Don't cancel Daygame.
If you're talking about content online, obviously then there's nothing wrong with Daygame. But yeah, I'm pro everything. You do what you want. But I just think that I have a right to know who I'm sleeping with if it comes to that, and I think it's just not telling that before like a dude sleeps with you if you're a transgender person. I did not consent to that, so I think legally that should be considered rape, and that would be pretty dope. Anyways, that's it, guys.
That is it.
That is it. And stories like this happen sometimes. You can read them sometimes in our Telegram group chat. As I told you guys, we have almost 400 guys from literally all over the world. No blah blah blah, no bullshit. Very technical, very direct technical conversations. So if you are curious to check it out, then there's a link in the description to join the group chat. If you are daygaming, are getting numbers but aren't getting dates yet, or you don't know what to do on dates, then head to daygamecourses.com, where there is a free texting course. It shows you everything you need to text a girl, from the first message you send to back and forth to how to date request her. And then when you go on a date, there is a dating's basic course which teaches you everything you need to know from the moment you plan the date to the moment when you are inviting her to come over to your place. And then advanced courses go over like a more in-depth thing, but it will teach you, especially an important thing for daygamers, for guys that are starting, what to do when you don't know what to say in a conversation, how different conversation techniques to keep the conversation going, to make it interesting for the girl. All of that is there for free, guys.
What to text.
Production quality sucks there, but the content is good. And that's it, guys. And if you want to learn day games simpler and cheaper than infield coaching, then we are starting a new group of the group online coaching program pretty soon. If you want to learn more about that, there is again a link in the description. You can watch the video where I explain why I created the program, how it works. And then if you like it, you'll send me a message, we'll chat, and you'll sign up. That's it, guys.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Click subscribe.
Hit that notification button.
Click everything. Click everything. Anyways, ciao, guys. Wonderful.